The Yoruba people. Who are they and where are they from? In this video, we will be discussing in brief the history of the Yoruba people. The most popular tribes in Nigeria, a country in West Africa, which is situated between the Sahel to the north and the Gulf of Guinea to the south in the Atlantic Ocean. The history of the Yoruba people begins in Ile-Ife Empire. This kingdom was founded by the deity Oduduwa, who is believed to have created the world. Oduduwa was the first divine king of the Yoruba people. It is said the Yoruba people believe that their civilization began at Ile-Ife where the gods descended to earth. The ethnic group became popular internationally due to their trading with the Portuguese, which gave them guns for their trade. The Yoruba were invaded by the Fulani in the early 1800s, which pushed the people to the south. In the late 1800s, they formed a treaty with the British Empire and were colonized by Britain beginning in 1901. Yoruba, one of the three largest ethnic groups of Nigeria, concentrated in the southwestern part of that country. Much smaller, scattered groups live in Benin and northern Togo. The Yoruba numbered more than 60 million at the turn of the 21st century. They speak a language of the Benue-Congo branch of the Niger-Congo language family. The people who lived in Yorubaland, at least by the 7th century BC, were not initially known as the Yoruba, although they shared a common ethnicity and language group. The historical Yoruba developed in situ, out of earlier Mesolithic Volta Niger populations, by the 1st millennium BC. Archaeologically, the settlement at Ile-Ife can be dated to the 4th century BC, with urban structures appearing in the 8th-10th centuries. Between 700 and 900 AD, the city began to develop as a major artistic center, and by the 12th century Ife artists were creating bronze, stone, and terracotta sculptures. The phase of Ile-Ife before the rise of Oyo, ca. 1100 to 1600, is sometimes described as a golden age of Ile-Ife. Most Yoruba men are farmers, growing yams, corn, maize, and millet as staples and plantains, peanuts, groundnuts, beans, and peas as subsidiary crops. Cocoa is a major cash crop. Others are traders or craftsmen. Women do little farm work but control much of the complex market system. Their status depends more on their own position in the marketplace than on their husband's status. The Yoruba have traditionally been among the most skilled and productive craftsmen of Africa. They worked at such trades as blacksmithing, weaving, leatherworking, glassmaking, and ivory and wood carving. In the 13th and 14th centuries, Yoruba bronze casting using the lost wax cire Purdue method reached a peak of technical excellence never subsequently equaled in Western Africa. Yoruba women engage in cotton spinning, basketry, and dyeing. The Yoruba have shared a common language and culture for centuries but were probably never a single political unit. They seem to have migrated from the east to their present lands west of the lower Niger River more than a millennium ago. They eventually became the most urbanized Africans of pre-colonial times. They formed numerous kingdoms of various sizes, each of which was centered on a capital city or town and ruled by a hereditary king, or Oba. Their towns became densely populated and eventually grew into the present-day cities of Oyo, Ile-Ife, Alsha, Ibadan, Ilorin, Ijebu-Ode, Ikirikiti, and others. Oyo developed in the 17th century into the largest of the Yoruba kingdoms, see Oyo Empire, while Ile-Ife remained a town of potent religious significance as the site of the earth's creation according to Yoruba mythology. Oyo and the other kingdoms declined in the late 18th and 19th centuries owing to disputes among minor Yoruba rulers and invasions by the Fon of Dahomey, now Benin, and the Muslim Fulani. The traditional Yoruba kingships still survive, but with only a hint of their former political power. In a traditional Yoruba town, the large and elaborate palace of the Oba lies at the center, and grouped around it are the compounds of the patrilineages. The palace and the compounds are now often modern structures. There is much diversity in social and political organization among the Yoruba, but they share many basic features. Inheritance and succession are based on patrilineal descent. Members of the patrilineage live together under the authority of a headman, share certain names and taboos, worship their own deity, and have rights in lineage lands. The Yoruba also have several kinds of voluntary associations, including the Egbe, a male recreational association, the Aro, a mutual aid association of farmers, and the Isusu, whose members contribute a fixed amount of money and from which they can receive loans. Political authority is vested in the Oba and a council of chiefs. Constituent towns each have their own ruler, who is subordinate to the Oba. The Oba is also a ritual leader and is considered sacred. Many Yoruba are now Christians or Muslims, but aspects of their traditional religion survive. The traditional Yoruba religion has an elaborate hierarchy of deities, including a supreme creator and some 400 lesser gods and spirits, most of whom are associated with their own cults and priests. The Yoruba language has an extensive literature of poetry, short stories, myths, and proverbs. Benue-Congo languages, the largest branch of the Niger-Congo language family, in terms of the number of speakers, the number of languages, and the wide geographic spread, stretching from the Benin-Nigeria border across Nigeria and Cameroon through Central Africa to Eastern Africa. It includes all the countries in Central and Southern Africa. This huge area covers more than half the habitable terrain of the continent and represents a similar percentage of the population, totaling at least 500 million. The 900 languages of the Benue-Congo branch are further subdivided into 11 unequal groups. Languages in the first 10 of these 11 groups are spoken almost entirely within Nigeria. Oko and Ukan-Akps. These two groups together consist of 3 languages spoken by relatively small numbers of people living near the confluence of the Niger and Benue rivers. The Defoid languages comprise 2 groups, the Akokoid cluster of 4 languages and the very much larger Yoruboid cluster whose principal members are Yoruba, 20 million speakers, Igala, 1 million, and Itsekiri, Itsepsilon-Kiri, 600,000. Yoruba is the Niger-Congo language with the largest number of mother tongue speakers. Though Swahili has a greater total number of speakers, some 35 million, most of them are second language speakers. One of the principal languages of Nigeria, Yoruba is spoken throughout southwestern Nigeria and also by substantial numbers in Benin and Togo. It may best be regarded as a dialect cluster that has developed a standard written form. Yoruba has developed an extensive literature and has the earliest published dictionary, 1843, and grammar, 1852, written by a native speaker, Bishop Samuel Crowther, who in 1884 also translated the Bible into Yoruba. Ife was surpassed by the Oyo Empire as the dominant Yoruba military and political power between 1600 and 1800 AD. The nearby Benin Empire was also a powerful force between 1300 and 1850. Oyo developed in the 17th century and became one of the largest Yoruba kingdoms, while Ile-Ife remained as a religiously significant rival to its power at the site of the divine creation of the earth in Yoruba mythology. After Oduduwa's ascension in Ile-Ife, he had a son. This son later became the first ruler of the Oyo Empire. The Oyo kingdom subjugated the kingdom of Dahomey. It traded with European merchants on the coast through Augis. The wealth of the empire increased, and its political leaders' wealth increased as well. This state of affairs continued until Oba-Abiodun, Oyo's last great ruler, engaged his opponents in a bitter civil war that had a ruinous effect on economic development and the trade with the European merchants. The downfall of the kingdom came soon after, as Abiodun became concerned with little other than the display of royal wealth. Oyo's empire had collapsed by the 1830s. Like Oyo itself, most of the surrounding city-states were controlled by Aba, elected priestly monarchs, and councils made up of Olois, recognized leaders of royal, noble, and often even common descent, who joined them in ruling over the kingdoms through a series of guilds and cults. Different states saw differing ratios of power between the kingship and the chief's council. Some, such as Oyo, had powerful, autocratic monarchs with almost total control, while in others such as the Ijebu city-states, the senatorial councils were supreme and the Oba served as something of a figurehead. In all cases, however, Yoruba monarchs were subject to the continuing approval of their constituents as a matter of policy, and could be easily compelled to abdicate for demonstrating dictatorial tendencies or incompetence. The order to vacate the throne was usually communicated through an oroko or symbolic message, which usually took the form of parrots' eggs delivered in a covered calabash bowl by the Olois. The Yoruba eventually established a federation of city-states under the political ascendancy of the city-state of Oyo, located on the northern fringes of Yorubaland in the Savannah Plains between the forests of present southwest Nigeria and the Niger River. Following a jihad led by Uthman Dan Fodio and a rapid consolidation of the Hausa city-states of contemporary northern Nigeria, the Fulani Sokoto Caliphate invaded and annexed the Buffer Nupe Kingdom. It then began to advance southwards into Oyo lands. Shortly afterwards, its armies overran the Yoruba military capital of Ilorin, and then sacked and destroyed Oyo-Ila, the royal seat of the Oyo Empire. Following this, Oyo-Ila was abandoned, and the Oyo retreated south to the present city of Oyo, formerly known as Agodoyo, or Oyo-Adiba, in a forested region where the cavalry of the Sokoto Caliphate was less effective. Further attempts by the Sokoto Caliphate to expand southwards were checked by the Yoruba, who had rallied in defense under the military leadership of the ascendant Ibadan clan, which rose from the old Oyo Empire, and of the Ijebu city-states. However, the Oyo hegemony had been dealt a mortal blow. The other Yoruba city-states broke free of Oyo dominance, and subsequently became embroiled in a series of internecine conflicts that soon metamorphosed into a full-scale civil war. These events weakened the southern Yorubas considerably as the Nigerian government pursued harsh methods to bring an end to the civil war. In 1960, Greater Yorubaland was subsumed into the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The historical records of the Yoruba, which became more accessible in the 19th century with the more permanent arrival of the Europeans, tell of heavy jihad raids by the mounted Fulani warriors of the north, as well as of endemic inter-city warfare amongst the Yoruba themselves. Archaeological evidence of the greatness of their ancient civilization in the form of, amongst other things, impressive architectural achievements like Sungbo's Eredo. We'll like to thank you for taking the time in watching this video. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, share, and also please subscribe to our channel. This will enable us to make more videos like this.